So AI tells you this is the format that works the best. What do you do? The decision-making part, the part where you say, this is the constraint we have as a business, this is the trade-off we need to make, this is the right call for our brand, this is what's actually going to be valuable. What I want is build the best team in the world at what we do. It's a very different thing. So if somebody joins us, I want them to think this is the best career decision I've made in my life, right? And I think so far, I mean, I have a lot to learn, of course, but I think I'm fairly good at helping people unlock their potential and actually reach and then expand their potential.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Retention Clarity Gap podcast. And today I'm joined, as always, by GK. And today we're going to be talking about the future of retention marketing. If you still think retention just means send more emails, stick around. In 2025, the agencies that win won't be the ones sending more emails. They will be the ones making the best decisions for their clients. So I want to be kind of starting this off with what, in your mind, GK, do you think that agencies still getting wrong about retention right now?
You nailed it, basically, that a lot of people are still thinking about what we do as an output function, right? Like we are producing emails, we build more flows, so we're doing our job well. That's not it. And it's not it for two reasons. Number one, the platforms themselves, think Klaviyo, think Recharge, all of those platforms, they've done such an incredible job at educating people, educating the end user, the merchant, educating potential service providers that want to enter this lucrative market, that this is just easy at the moment. It's not easy to do it at scale, right? It's not easy to have a production of 200 emails like clockwork like this. This is still hard, but how a flow is set up or what an email should look like or how to write the subject line, it's so easy to do if you're reasonably smart and competent that it's just not valuable enough, frankly. Like it used to be the case when underground eCom was starting. Like they are one of the first Klaviyo ecosystem agencies. That's why I bring them up. It would be trivial to charge like 5K to do like a very basic setup for people, because like checkout abandonment was still something like magic. Like, well, what is this? Like people did not know what it was a few years ago. Now, I mean, it's way harder. So this is one. And then the other reason why this is increasingly less and less valuable is AI, of course, because it used to be the case that to have good copy, you would need to have like very good copywriters, or good design, you need very good designers. But increasingly, we see that more and more technology can basically drive this. And I think what a lot of people say when they think about this is that, okay, if the production is being democratized because it's easy to enter and then you can use AI to actually execute it, then the next frontier is insights, in the sense of analyzing data and drawing conclusions and all of that. But I think this is wrong. I was actually thinking about this. I was discussing this with Eli from Yocto. He's the VP of, I hope I'm saying it correctly, retention at Yocto. Retention advocacy at Yocto. So what I think is the case is that the next frontier is not insights, because this too can be done with AI, frankly, right? You can push a lot of data and it will tell you this is what works better, this is what doesn't work, etc. It's what do you do after that's left, the decision making. So AI tells you this is the format that works the best. What do you do? The decision making part, the part where you say this is the constraint we have as a business, this is the trade-off we need to make, this is the right call for our brand, this is what's actually going to be valuable. So to your point, it's agencies that help brands navigate decisions, I think, that will be successful in the future. The rest, production, analysis, it's increasingly, I would say, less and less valuable.
When you mentioned AI, I remember this meeting that we had internally, that you had all of us like inside the meeting and you were talking about the service market fit collapse and you're talking about AI. Can you elaborate on that more and let everyone know, like, what did you spot early on that made you want to have this meeting with us internally?
By the way, remember how I made some predictions? I said that design will be start to be done by AI. Like everything I said came to be true. By the way, you can now use even ChatGPT to create images. People use it for ads. Everything I said became true. So what did I see? I don't remember what the exact trigger was, or even the moment it happened. But what I realized was a shift in what clients were expecting. It's basically what I said before. It used to be okay to be a good producer of content. Like I would like decent copy, decent design, decent setup. I set it up. I send 8 campaigns a month. I get paid. We're all happy. It used to be okay. But after a point, this changed a little bit. Like, and it wasn't initially it was a gradual shift, but then it started changing quickly and quickly. Now this is no longer acceptable. You can't really win. And I'm talking about decent budgets now, right? Like not small freelance projects that people do because they don't have a lot of money to pay a bigger agency. You can't do this anymore. And this is what service market fit collapse means, is basically what you offer that the client used to value is no longer valued by the marketplace. And I guess if I really think about the best early sign was that clients started questioning the value of things a little bit more. So they would start saying, how do we know if this is making us money? They started challenging the results that they would see on a Klaviyo dashboard. And then the moment this conversation starts to happen is the moment that, I guess, good enough is no longer cutting it.
Does this mean that the agencies should be focusing less on what happens if the client comes to you and here's the flows that we want to build, here's the campaigns that we want to build? Like, are we giving this up entirely or doing it only in a different way?
How do you mean that? Can you explain?
Yes. So you are in the pitch with a client and you're talking about their business, their struggles, and they tell you, okay, we think we need to be kind of optimizing our customer journey in the post-purchase. So give us a code for the number of emails that you will be kind of building. Is this the right way, even in the future, for us as an
I think
agency?
I understand what you mean. So basically, you're asking if it's still the way to go to be charging based on units, right? That's the true question.
Yes, yes.
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think it's it's a model that's good because it's consumption based, right? Like so the client pays when they get more, so they benefit when you as an agency benefit because you are producing more for them, and then the vice versa. If they require less, you also need to produce less, so you get paid less, but you also like spend less to produce. It's a good model. Like in theory, it's good, and it has been, I think, the best up until now. In terms of how the commercials should look in the future, what I believe will, and I mean, I don't know, by the way, I'm just guessing now. What I think will happen is that the pricing of our services will likely go up, but we will need to solve tougher problems. An example of which is what we were discussing the other day about payback ratios and LTV to CAC ratios. Like that sort of problem is a harder problem to solve. And if you are able to solve this, you should, of course, be paid well because it has a magnified impact also for the business than just setting up flows. But I think the basic setup type of work, I think it's going to be less and less valued. We see it already actually happening.
The bigger the problem, the bigger the impact, and also the bigger the pay that we can ask for. So I'm seeing this myself on LinkedIn and from other colleagues. Like agencies now are declining. The teams are actually being less and less. But in our case, we are growing. So why do you think we are growing while others are not growing at the same stage now? What's making Yocto different?
I guess I'm doing something right. No, I'm joking. Um, I mean, it's hard to know what causes other agencies to not do well. So I can't say that I necessarily know what's happening in other people's businesses, but I do speak to a lot of people, and it's true that it's been tough. And I think the reason why it's been tough is because people, agencies, basically got fat on low expectations, and that era is over, as we discussed, which means that unless you've been thinking about the possibility of the bar being higher and you've prepared your hiring process, your training process, your like corporate values really as an agency, you are not well positioned in this new ecosystem. In other words, if I have created a factory where people can do one thing and are unable to think, and then the conditions change and the factory produces something that is no longer valued, of course I'm going to be in trouble, right? And this is not so true in less sophisticated markets like, I don't know, like Germany or France. I have people in those countries that I know that do very well with simple production-based models, but you can't get away with that business model in the UK or in the US anymore, or at least you can do so less and less. The expectation, again, is much higher. There's this service market fit collapse thing that's been going on. So that's, I think, the reason why people are struggling. They were not prepared for a time when the bar was higher. And another way to look at this is that it was raining money on fools before. It was easy to make money in this industry. You can learn to do flows in Klaviyo, if you are smart, of course, in a single day. It's not hard. But too many people made money doing stupid things like that without really knowing why or how, or like they just like copied things and basically replicated them across projects. So this is no longer the case. In terms of what we do well, which I think other agencies don't, and I'll try not to flatter myself, but I think I've played a little bit of a role in this, is that we are forward thinking. So we see the service market fit collapse, and we see that there's different paths one can take. One can try to create a technology around this. There's people creating, I don't know, like email design tools and like copywriting tools, and then they try to basically spin their agency into a mini SaaS, right? That's a potential path. The other path is to create an agency that has high standards and extremely high caliber people so that they can thrive even though the environment is getting tougher. And we've made largely the second decision because we've been thinking that this would happen. There's a post of me on Facebook. There's a group, Cult of Copy. It's for copywriters. I used to be a copywriter in the past. I posted about this, I think in 2018. That's 7 years ago. I predicted the AI thing would happen. Everybody can look it up. So I've been thinking about this for a very long time. Ultimately, I think this is why we're so well positioned. We have a higher standard that's reflected in the quality of our stuff. And to put it simply, we don't hire people to do button pressing. We hire people like to solve problems, to learn how to not to learn, but to know how to think. And of course, we help them develop it even further. So this is why clients love working with us, because this allows us to connect with their in-house teams in a deeper way. We become more integrated. We don't just say, oh, we do like our 4 campaigns. No, we become part of their team in a way. We work as an extension of the team. We are able to drive results because we understand how their business works on a deeper level. We are able, you sent an email to one of our clients' acquisition teams earlier or yesterday saying, hey, this is what I see happening on the LTV front after 90 days. Let's align on what targets you can set from an acquisition standpoint, because we feel we're creating a lot of value that would allow you to scale more and potentially set a higher target when it comes to your cost per acquisition. So we do that sort of work that agencies typically want, because it's a pain in the ass. And it's a pain in the ass precisely because it's so much harder.
And it's so harder to be having a template for it and, like being templated for the team. I understand what you mean. Is this why? So we're giving away so much.
Let me challenge you. Yeah. People do say this, and I always disagree with. I was doing a podcast here in Greece with some friends, and they were like, it's difficult to scale an agency because like you rely on people and like it's a bad. If you think less in terms of digital marketing, Klaviyo agency, and think more about service business. Are there not huge service businesses that make an incredible amount of money and provide an incredible service? No, of course there is. What about McKinsey? What about BCG, the big consultancies? What about Ogilvy, the big advertising firms? What about big lawyer firms? All of those are service businesses. So of course it's possible to A, scale it to the moon, and B, create an organization where people are actually solving complex problems. Like if you are doing, I don't know, like if you are in law is fairly complicated, right? So how do they hire people that learn complicated problems? It's possible to train and find talent that can solve complicated problems. Similarly, think about the consultancy. Like McKinsey will charge you 500K and then send you 4 interns to advise you on how to fire your staff to reduce your costs. How do they get away with this? How do they find those interns that are able to enter the room with the owners and like the management of a sizable, huge company and advise them, right? That's the true question. If you can do this, in other words, if you can find the right talented people, A, and B, give them a path and develop them over time and give them a vision of why they should do this in your company or any other company, you can solve complex problems. You don't need templates, is what I'm saying. Of course, procedures help, but procedures help in the following way. They mitigate the risk of failure. They give you a process that you can follow and not make mistakes. They don't show you how to solve problems. In other words, when it doesn't totally fit your procedure, what do? To actually do the correct thing there, you need to be smart. You need to have the ability to problem solve, which as an agency, that's the person you want to hire. You don't want to hire factory workers. I'm going to stop because I can talk a lot about this. But
I know you because I've seen it before. I'm gonna give away something also that we talked about internally, but I think it's linked to this and it's worth mentioning now. When you switched from the usual audit that most agencies do, and you started talking about something called strategy activation. Can you elaborate more on that strategy activation and what pushed you to kind of make this switch? What does it mean?
so the way I think about this is that an audit is looking at the past and strategy activation is looking at the future. The audit essentially is a checklist that you have, that you take, and that you compare against something, right? So you review an account and you say, how do they do against those 5, 10, 20, 50 dimensions that you may have? And those dimensions might be campaign, segments, flows, deliverability, can be retention, can be churn, whatever it is. Everybody has their own audit. So this is good in telling you what you're doing badly. So you might find 20 different things that they don't do well, that they could in theory do better. But it doesn't necessarily align with what they actually want to do. And this is such a big disconnect that I only understood after I've been doing this for a very long while. It's kind of hard to wrap your head against this. But it's entirely possible that you tell somebody, here's 50 things you can improve, and they don't care about them, or they only care about 2 of them. And if you had just asked what matters to you, you could have proposed something to them based on those 2 things that actually matter to them. And then what happens is that you don't overwhelm them with interesting, but in the grand scheme of things, not too important information. You are able to give them a proposal that actually takes them to where they want to go. And internally, as a team, you already have a sense of what you are meant to deliver. You are almost like creating the scope of work at the same time, because the strategy activation is meant to give you the strategy that will take you to your quarterly targets. So you will come to me and say, I have this problem, and then based off of that problem, we're going to propose to you a strategy on achieving your goals. So much more relevant for you, much easier for our delivery team to then deliver the work, because I mean it's predefined that okay, this is the North Star for us, and ultimately way more useful and fast. I'd say that's why we did this. It's not that the other process did not work, but I think this is strictly better.
It's actually making our lives easier when you want to implement this strategy. Like myself, I find it easier when I don't have you call it the laundry list of like 10 things to do, and you do 8 of them and you're not moving the needle. Let's talk truthfully here. This helped us beat other bigger agencies like this similar way. And you've talked about this also internally with us. Can you please elaborate on this more?
So, I mean, we are iterating on the process still, by the way. It's not set in stone. We will likely be changing it in the future. But so far, the overwhelming feedback that we get is that basically you understand our business better than others. Like the sentiment is we were not expecting you to actually do something that's customized for us. Because again, audits tend to be generalized. So to make it very concrete for people, you may have, for example, I'm going to use the simplest example. You have a welcome flow that sends to emails. The agency does an audit and they tell you, oh, our best practice says that you need to have 5 emails. This is the audit, right? It's generic. They are going to say the same thing to anybody else that has 2 emails. The strategy activation piece is different. It's going to be, here's exactly what you need to do to achieve your target. So you might say, for example, I have an issue on my subscription program. I'm getting too many cancellations. Strategy activation means that the top cancellation regions will be analyzed. We're going to identify what the main reason why people cancel is, and we're going to give you the exact to-dos that should happen to drop that churn. It's a very different thing. It's a very different thing. And it's, again, much more useful, but also for us, much better because we know specifically what has to happen. Of course, to be clear, it requires a more experienced person in the sales process, which in this case happens to be me. So I guess we've got this covered for now, but maybe not if we want to build an entire sales team around this, it's going to be harder. So it's not better in that sense, I guess. The audit, anybody can do this. I guess requires a little bit of magic secret sauce.
I get you. So you will need a subject matter expert to be doing this in order to be successful. And I just had this question just cross my mind. Some clients, maybe they don't actually know what's their number one problem. Like maybe some come to you with like, we know that this is our problem and this we are kind of have been having this high churn over the past 9 months and it's kind of eating us. How do you approach someone when he's coming to you and like, audit me, but I don't know exactly what's the main problem? Do you have an approach to that you kind of take within those sales calls?
Yeah. This is actually more common than you would think. It's not that people say audit me necessarily. It's that when you say, okay, what's your goal? They're like, we want to increase revenue, we want to acquire more subscribers, we want to reduce churn, we want to improve flow. They basically tell you the laundry list. They try to cover everything. It's a little bit annoying, I guess, when this happens, but the correct reaction is to just not accept this. Like what I try to always do is tell them, okay, but what if you had to choose one? What would be your number one target? Like you just need to keep pushing until they give you 1 or 2 max. Because, okay, different topic, but what is strategy? Strategy is knowing what to focus on, what you want to do in addition to what you will do. You can't have a strategy that does everything. So a simplistic way to look at this is that 1 quarter you might be focusing on acquiring more customers. Another you might be focusing on making those customers spend more. So it's a different focus. You can't focus. I mean, you can focus at both, but you are diluting the focus and the effect is going to be weaker also. So it's very important to get at least some level of focus when doing this exercise.
Got you. So try to push to focus on one thing and give it a time frame, and then maybe move to the others. Got it.
Yeah.
Also, I see this kind of when other agencies try to scale, they kind of search for the right tech. They use automations maybe, or maybe just try to get to be able to produce more emails. You've mentioned for us internally that we are going to be doing something that's not even close to this, which is like the strategy advisory. Why? Can you elaborate on that more, please?
I think, okay, so I guess the main dilemma that agencies have at the moment, at least like how I think about it, is that you have 2 paths. One path is kind of like create technology or upskill people. You can do to an extent both. We are actually doing both, right? Like I don't even know if you know this, but we are developing our own SaaS at the moment. It's related to segmentation. It's related to better decision. So we are building technology as well. It's not that we don't, but some people I think choose to go all in on AI, in particular on AI technology. So SaaS for copy, SaaS for design, SaaS for like producing and all of that. And I think there is a very big risk with this because there's 2 paths. One path is that AI is as good as it gets, in which case your SaaS makes sense because you are improving the UX. It's easier for me to use your tool and go to ChatGPT and Claude and all of that, which is sensible. Or AI will improve, which can make your tool obsolete. Jasper, and it is an example. I don't know if you know Jasper. It's like an AI copywriting thing that used to be like billion plus, I think, valuation. I don't know how they do at the moment, but ChatGPT basically like made them obsolete. Like I don't think a lot of people use it anymore. And I'm not saying this to badmouth them. I think they did brilliant, but the technology improved and the innovation advantage that they had kind of like went away. You can do exactly what they were offering very easily somewhere else. So I think this is why the technology path is risky. And I would also say that the technology path is risky unless you are like a technical founder yourself. Like in other words, if I were a developer, I would be seeing this as a more attractive path, a less risky path, because I would be able to like really understand and like lead the development of the technology myself in a way, which now I'm not. I'm more of a marketing guy, which consequently means I would need to hire somebody, and which again I've done, but it's a much riskier bet when I'm not able to like fully drive it, right? So for us, this leaves the upskill and level up and higher standards side of the equation as a viable choice when it comes to the agency. So the strategic advisory division and generally the rebranding of Yocto is targeting this, that if we want to acquire the world's best talent, the way we talk about ourselves needs to reflect that. And the way we need to think about ourselves needs to reflect that. We have some really smart people. I'm not going to say any names, but we have people that finished university a couple of years ago. They've done their master's degree and they're doing like they are speaking to like world leaders, like actually not world leaders, but like country leaders. They are like that type of person that has like, I guess, like maximum potential to be involved at big non-profit events and like be driven at the highest level. And we have people that are extremely hardworking and are learning extremely fast. People that basically started as interns a few years ago, frankly, and now I see they know more than retention directors with 10 years of experience because of the environment we've created. So anyway, my point is that the strategic advisory is meant to amplify our talent acquisition efforts and enhance internal perception about how we view ourselves. Because again, we are not like most other agencies. And this is very important to kind of like be felt internally and externally, communicated as well. Ultimately, long term, so this is the short to mid-term objective, acquisition and development of talent. Long term, the objective is that we distance ourselves from other agencies even more. And we start essentially no longer having execution-based engagements with clients where we say, we produce this and that, and more so become like consultants, where literally we advise them on the strategy and how they should be approaching things on a retention level. So I gave you a very long answer, but hopefully I landed at the end. I did it like this.
You mentioned lots of things that are making Yocto different for clients and for talents. You have anything more to add on that, or do you want to summarize what makes Yocto different? You mentioned the strategy activation. You mentioned top talent. So
I get it. What I was going through now, it's kind of like conceptual, right? But there's like very practical and concrete reasons why we're different. So number one, we are specialized as doesn't get more specialized. So we are specialized in terms of the technology level. So we mostly work with Shopify and we mostly work with Klaviyo. We are specialized on the vertical. We work in health and wellness. That's the type of brands we work with. So we don't need to be taught compliance. We don't need to be taught regulations or like the nuances of promoting health, because we've done this over and over and over again. Then we are focused and specialized again on the size of the companies we work with. In our career, we've worked with pre-launch all the way to like truly massive companies, but our sweet spot appears to be this 10 million annual revenue mark. So we know how to take that company from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 and even beyond, because again, we've done this in the past. And lastly, I would say, and this is a question that people should be asking of their agency, frankly, it's like, what is your client retention? Our client retention is second to none in the industry. we have very, very strong client retention. It's over 1 year and a half. In our industry, like, again, I'm not going to say any names, but like those bigger agencies that you might see, they basically have a 3-month period where they do the setup, building flows and all of that. And then the client is disappointed. They're giving them 1 or 2 months to fix things. Those things are not fixed. And then by month 5, they churn. So we are over 3 times higher than the, I guess, industry standard. So these are like some very concrete and practical differences. And I think it's visible throughout this whole conversation. I think the main difference we have, the number one, actually is philosophically, we're different. We're different because if you think about it, essentially there's a lot of reasons why people may want to start an agency, but the main number one reason is freedom, right? Like people want to do this so that they have a way to make money while they're relatively flexible and don't need to be like settled somewhere. It's a lifestyle business for most people, right? Like they essentially view it as a business opportunity that you can outsource and kind of like step back. I mean, it never happens like this because it's not that easy to step back, but that's what most people want. What I want is build the best team in the world at what we do. It's a very different thing. So if somebody joins us, I want them to think this is the best career decision I've made in my life, right? And I think so far, I mean, I have a lot to learn, of course, but I think I'm fairly good at helping people unlock their potential and actually reach and then expand their potential. And this happens precisely because we have a higher bar. The easiest, the simplest example is it's no longer as common, but in the past, it used to be the case that all agencies had a QA department. Basically, people that pressed buttons and said, does this work? Does this work? Again and again. And this is, in my perspective, the worst thing you can do for your culture, because more, if you're like, oh, it's fine, Mariah is going to check it. You don't need to check, right? Like somebody else will. You absolve yourself of the responsibility of doing good work. So if you think about it, it's been less than 3 years since Yocto started. Less than 3 years. September will be 3 years. And before that, I mean, I was having a little bit of success as a consultant, but I mean, I was a nobody really, like nobody really knew me. And now we're in the conversation for one of the best retention agencies in the Klaviyo ecosystem. I see people describing us like that when we get introductions. Let me introduce you to Yocto, arguably the best retention agency from what our clients say. I've seen this over and over again by tech partners. So it's not accidental, is what I'm saying. It's not just that we focused on the vertical or that, I don't know, all of those other things I said. It's philosophically, we're different. We have a high bar. And the thing with companies is that like-minded people attract like-minded people or repel people that are not like them. And increasingly, our DNA becomes closer, I think, in the company. We have more and more like-minded people, which only accelerates how quickly we are developing as a company. And I would say arguably only furthers the gap between us and other agencies.
That's a pretty good pitch for Yocto. Are we going to have an anniversary in September, by the way?
I think we should.
Yeah, I think we should. Help me imagine, after all of those changes, probably you have an image in your mind after 1 or 2 years. How would it kind of feel, or how would it look like working with Yocto then?
I think we will no longer be described as an email marketing agency. I think this is 1000%. It will happen. And then I would like to think that by then we will be the go-to resource when retention performance has to improve and fast for health and wellness brands all over the world. And on a personal level, I think by then I would be very happy to have found a successor to lead the company. So that's what I think will happen.
Oh, you want to leave?
I'm not going to be very far, don't worry. I'm just having the next frontiers in mind.
I'm going to be sad. I don't want you to leave. You know that.
I do.
Okay, thanks for your time today, GK. And do you want to end it up with a call to action for today? I always love your calls to action. Maybe
I guess the one call to action we should do, which I've never done, and I'm the worst at that sort of thing, is if you liked this, if you picked anything useful out of this, do leave it a positive review. It really helps more people discover it. And frankly, it keeps us more motivated to keep doing it. So if you like this, please do leave a review. We really appreciate it a lot.
You heard it, people. Give GK a review, please, so that he's encouraged to do this on a weekly basis. Thanks so much for your time, GK, and we appreciate it.